The small town of New Paltz, nestled in the picturesque Hudson Valley of New York, was bathed in the crisp, cool air of November 3rd. The leaves had turned brilliant shades of red, orange, and yellow, creating a breathtaking tapestry that contrasted with the town's colonial architecture. It was here that Alex, a struggling musician, lived in a modest apartment above a quaint bookstore. The town's historic charm was lost on him, though, as he stared at the stack of unpaid bills on his kitchen table. Alex had been chasing his dream of musical stardom for years, but success seemed ever elusive. His days were filled with endless practice sessions and gigs that paid barely enough to cover his rent. Desperation gnawed at him, making him vulnerable to the whispers of a dark temptation. One evening, as Alex sat in the bookstore sipping on a lukewarm coffee, he noticed a peculiar book on one of the shelves. Its spine was cracked and worn, and the cover was adorned with strange symbols. The title, Infernal Contracts, A Musician's Path to Glory, seemed to call out to him. Intrigued and desperate, Alex took the book to his apartment. As he flipped through the pages, Alex discovered that the book contained detailed instructions on summoning a demon and making a pact for fame and fortune. The words seemed to blur and dance on the page, drawing him into their promise of success. Despite the warnings scattered throughout the text, Alex's desperation overpowered his caution. On the night of the new moon, Alex followed the instructions meticulously. He drew a circle of salt in the middle of his living room, placed black candles at each cardinal point, and recited the incantation from the book. The air grew thick and oppressive, and the temperature dropped suddenly. The shadows in the room seemed to writhe and twist, converging in the center of the circle. A figure materialized from the darkness, its form shifting and flickering like a flame. The demon, Azazel, was both terrifying and mesmerizing, with eyes that glowed like embers and a voice that resonated deep within Alex's soul. "You seek fame and fortune," Azazel intoned, his voice smooth and hypnotic. "In exchange, you will give me your soul." Alex hesitated for a moment, but the thought of escaping his struggles and achieving his dreams was too enticing. He agreed to the pact, signing his name in blood on the contract that Azazel produced from the shadows. From that night on, Alex's life changed dramatically. His music career took off at an astonishing pace. His songs topped the charts, and he found himself performing in sold-out arenas. The money poured in, and he was surrounded by adoring fans and influential people in the industry. For the first time in his life, Alex felt truly alive. But with each passing day, the price of his success became more apparent. Strange occurrences began to plague him. He heard whispers in the dead of night, voices that seemed to echo from the shadows. His reflection in the mirror sometimes appeared distorted, his eyes glowing with the same ember-like intensity as Azazel's. Despite the fame and fortune, a deep sense of unease settled over him. One night, as he lay in his luxurious penthouse suite, Alex awoke to find Azazel standing at the foot of his bed. The demon's eyes burned with a fierce intensity, and a wicked smile played on his lips. "Your time is running out, Alex," Azazel said, his voice filled with dark amusement. "Soon, I will come to collect what is mine." Fear gripped Alex's heart as he realized the gravity of his situation. He had traded his soul for success, and now the demon had come to claim it. Desperate to escape his fate, Alex sought out anyone who might help him break the pact. He consulted occultists, mystics, and priests, but none could offer a solution. One night, in a fit of despair, Alex remembered an old friend from New Paltz, a woman named Serafina, who was known for her knowledge of the arcane. Serafina had always been an enigma, her presence both comforting and unsettling. She lived on the outskirts of town in a secluded cabin, surrounded by ancient trees and the whispers of the wind. Alex made his way to Serafina's cabin, his heart pounding with a mixture of hope and dread. She welcomed him with a knowing look, her eyes filled with a blend of pity and resolve. After listening to his story, Serafina agreed to help him, but her expression remained grave. "The bond you have with Azazel is not easily broken," Serafina said, her voice soft but firm. "But there may be a way to transfer the pact. It requires a sacrifice of great significance." Alex's heart sank. He knew what Serafina meant. "What kind of sacrifice?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "A life for a life," Serafina replied. "The soul of another must take your place." The weight of her words hung heavy in the air. Alex realized the enormity of what he was being asked to do. The thought of condemning another person to his fate was abhorrent, but the fear of losing his own soul was overwhelming. That night, Alex wrestled with his conscience. He couldn't bring himself to make such a monstrous decision. But as the days passed and Azazel's presence grew more oppressive, his resolve began to weaken. He thought of his fame, his fortune, and the life he had built. The fear of losing it all gnawed at him relentlessly. Desperate and out of options, Alex made the fateful decision to transfer the pact. He chose a man he barely knew, a fellow musician who had once wronged him in a petty rivalry. The ritual was dark and twisted, and Alex's hands trembled as he completed it. The moment the transfer was complete, he felt a sense of relief wash over him. But the relief was short-lived. The guilt and shame of what he had done weighed heavily on his soul. He tried to drown his sorrows in alcohol and distractions, but the whispers of his conscience were ever present. He couldn't escape the feeling that he had damned himself in a different way. One evening, as Alex performed in front of a sold-out crowd, he felt a strange sensation. The air grew cold and the lights dimmed. He looked out into the audience and saw a familiar figure, Azazel, watching him with a sinister smile. The demon's presence filled Alex with dread. He realized that the transfer had not truly freed him from the pact. Azazel's influence was still with him, a dark shadow that loomed over every aspect of his life. As the months passed, Alex's fame and fortune began to wane. His music lost its spark, and his fans moved on to the next big thing. The luxurious lifestyle he had enjoyed crumbled around him, leaving him alone and desolate. The whispers in the night grew louder, and the reflection in the mirror became more distorted. Desperate for redemption, Alex returned to Serafina. She welcomed him with a sad smile, her eyes filled with a deep understanding. "I told you the bond was not easily broken," she said softly. "Azazel's grip on your soul is strong." "Is there any hope?" Alex asked, his voice trembling with despair. Serafina looked at him for a long moment before answering. "There may be one final way, but it is fraught with danger and uncertainty. You must confront Azazel directly and attempt to renegotiate the terms of your pact." The thought of facing the demon terrified Alex, but he knew he had no other choice. With Serafina's guidance, he prepared for the confrontation. She provided him with protective talismans and taught him powerful incantations. On the night of the winter solstice, under a sky heavy with storm clouds, Alex performed the summoning ritual once more. The air crackled with energy, and the shadows in the room twisted and writhed. Azazel appeared, his eyes burning with malevolent glee. "You dare to summon me again?" Azazel hissed, his voice dripping with malice. "I want to renegotiate," Alex said, his voice steady despite the fear that gripped him. "There must be another way." Azazel's laughter filled the room, a sound that sent chills down Alex's spine. "You are bold, mortal, but your soul is mine. What can you offer that would interest me?" Alex took a deep breath, remembering Seraphina's words. I offer my music. Take my talent, my ability to create. Let me keep my soul, and you can have my gift. The demon's eyes narrowed, considering the offer. The room was silent, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Finally, Azazel nodded slowly. Very well, he said, his voice a low growl. Your talent for your soul. The pact is renegotiated. A searing pain shot through Alex as the new terms took hold. He felt a part of himself being ripped away, leaving a hollow emptiness in its place. The demon's laughter echoed in his ears as Azazel disappeared, leaving Alex alone in the darkness. The next day, Alex tried to play his guitar, but his fingers fumbled over the strings. The music that had once flowed effortlessly was now a jumbled mess of discordant notes. He had lost his talent, his ability to create the music that had defined his life. The realization was devastating, but there was a strange sense of relief as well. He had kept his soul, and though he was no longer a musician, he was free from Azazel's grasp. The price had been high, but he had paid it willingly. Alex left New Paltz, seeking a fresh start in a new place. He found work as a bartender in a small town, blending into the background of ordinary life. The fame and fortune were gone, but so were the whispers and the oppressive presence of the demon. As the years passed, Alex found a sense of peace in his new life. He still heard the occasional whisper in the dead of night, a reminder of the pact he had made. But he had learned to live with the shadows, accepting them as part of his past. One evening, as he closed up the bar, he saw a young musician performing on the street corner. The music was raw and passionate, filled with the same spark that Alex had once possessed. He felt a pang of nostalgia, but also a sense of hope. The young musician reminded him that talent and creativity were gifts that could inspire and connect people. Though Alex could no longer create music himself, he could appreciate and support those who did. He approached the young musician, offering words of encouragement and a few dollars. As he walked away, Alex felt a renewed sense of purpose. He couldn't change the past, but he could influence the future in small, meaningful ways. The shadows of his past would always be with him, but he had found a way to live in the light. The story of Alex and his pact with Azazel remained unfinished, an ongoing struggle between light and dark. The demon's influence was never fully banished, but Alex had found a way to coexist with it. In the quiet moments, he still heard the whispers, but they no longer held the power to control him. In the end, Alex's journey was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the enduring hope that even in the darkest of times, there is a chance for redemption and renewal. And as he continued to live his life, he remained vigilant, always aware that the battle was never truly over, but always believing that he could find a way to keep the darkness at bay. Despite his newfound peace, Alex could never fully escape the consequences of his pact. He knew that the demon was still out there, watching and waiting for another opportunity to reclaim what it believed was rightfully its own. But Alex had come to terms with this reality. He had faced the darkness and emerged stronger, if not entirely unscathed. As the years went by, Alex's hair turned gray and his body grew frail, but his spirit remained resilient. He continued to support and encourage young musicians, finding solace in their success and the beauty of their art. He became a mentor and a friend to many, his wisdom and experience guiding them through the trials and tribulations of their own journeys. One cold winter night, as Alex sat by the fireplace in his small cottage, he felt a familiar chill in the air. The shadows seemed to deepen and twist, and he knew that Azazel was near. The demon's presence was no longer a source of fear for him, but a reminder of the choices he had made and the strength he had found within himself. Azazel appeared before him, its eyes burning with the same fierce intensity as the day they first met. The demon's voice was a low, menacing growl as it spoke. "You have lived a long life, Alex," Azazel said, "but your time is coming to an end. Do you regret the choices you made?" Alex looked into the demon's eyes. his own gaze steady and unwavering. "I have no regrets," he replied. "I made my choices and I lived with the consequences. I found peace and purpose, despite the darkness you brought into my life." The demon's expression softened, and for a moment, a flicker of something that almost resembled respect crossed its face. "Very well," Azazel said. "Your soul remains your own, but know that the darkness will always be a part of you." With that, the demon disappeared, leaving Alex alone by the fire. He felt a sense of closure, knowing that he had faced his fears and emerged victorious. The shadows were still there, but they no longer held the same power over him. As he sat in the warmth of the firelight, Alex reflected on his life and the lessons he had learned. He had faced the darkness and found his way back to the light, a journey that had tested him in ways he could never have imagined. And though the battle was never truly over, he had found the strength to keep fighting, to keep living, and to keep hoping. In the quiet of the night, Alex closed his eyes and listened to the crackling of the fire. The whispers were still there, but they were no longer a source of fear. They were a reminder of his resilience, his courage, and his enduring hope. And as he drifted off to sleep, he knew that he had found his way back to the light, a beacon of hope in the darkness.